Good morning, everyone. We are going to be working on the sunflowers today. That's a long, thin canvas, and I'm just going to give you some ideas on how to paint the center and then start on your petals. If you want to subscribe to our channel, Spirited Art Scranton, on YouTube, then you'll be notified anytime we get a new video posted. All right, so I'm going to take a scoop of yellow, a little bit of the brown, and a little bit of white. And I'm not rinsing in between, but I'm going on the edge of my pile. And this is going to make a warmer yellow. You could, for the petals, you could use straight yellow if you wanted. This is just like a little bit warmer. All right, and I'm going to draw a line about halfway, and it's kind of a curved line in the center, and I'm gonna fill in the top part with this yellow. Now we're gonna put a lot of little dots over top that look like the seeds of a sunflower, but I just want to get something on the background. So I'm going to do that. And then I'll actually rinse my brush. I'm going to put straight dark brown. It's actually called raw umber, but I think in the instructions I also just used the word dark brown. I'm going to put that on the bottom. Now my yellow's still wet. It's okay if they touch and blend a little bit, but I'm just putting that on the bottom of the circle. And this is really just for a background color. It's gonna basically get fully covered. Just put a little more paint on there. As you can tell, this brown is really streaky, so if I was going to leave it and not put something else over it, I would definitely do 2 coats. Okay. Now you can use your little brush or your big brush here, but I'll use my little brush. I'm gonna start with the burnt sienna, so that red-brown color, and I'm just gonna make a lot of little dots. You can see that I'm picking up some of the yellow, and that's fine. This is supposed to look like those seeds in a sunflower, very textured, and I'm just gonna go all the way through that yellow, and even sort of going over top of that line, as you can see. So right now, the only color I'm using, even though you see a lot of colors coming out there, the only color I'm actually using is that red-brown color. And see how that yellow is blending with the red-brown over the line? That looks really good. Okay. So that's my first layer. And I can actually just dip straight into that dark brown if you want to, and just add a little bit of the dark brown in there. You can see it's blending with the red brown, that's fine. Okay, so now I've got a couple colors going on in that top part. What I'm gonna do is take a little of that dark brown, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of black to it to make it that much darker. And I'm going to start dabbing in the bottom section with that color. You can already see how it's darker. Now it is going on thicker, but it's also darker than our original brown color because we added that black. And you can go over the line with this one too. You don't have to go all the way down the line, just sort of here and there. But you see how it's giving you a texture. If you wanted to just put a little straight black in here and there, you could do that as well. I'm not sure if that's in the actual directions, but feel free to just play around with it. I'm trying to keep that curved center line there, kind of going over that. Now I'm gonna rinse. Ideally, you would let this dry because what we're gonna do is put some lighter colors over that. So I'm actually gonna mix some yellow with white. And I'll actually start on the petals. We'll come back to put this in the center, but you would put this yellow white in the center, and then you might put just a few dabs of straight white in there too. Okay, so that's our yellow white. We can use some of that for the petals, but our main petal color was that original warm yellow. Now, you can do the petals a couple different ways. Some people like to actually draw like an almond shape, like that, and you may want to draw them all the way around. like this. You could add an extra little V up top in some of the spaces. Don't worry if you get a little, I picked up a little bit of brown. That's totally fine. We're gonna put some different colors in here. So if I wanted to actually draw the petals, I would go ahead and draw them and then fill them in. And if you didn't like the shape, you could reshape it as you fill it in. And what you wanna do in each petal is maybe use some of that brown or the yellow that has the brown. Then you might wanna put just a little straight yellow in, and even some of that white plus yellow. So that's the lighter shade. Now, if you want to add more brown into your petals, feel free. I'm using the little brush to do all this. This is just one way to do it. You could actually put even a tiny bit, let's say you wanted to give yourself some orange, you could put just a tiny dab of red in and just work that in until you got to orange. See how I have a lot of red in this petal, so I'm just picking it up and I'm taking it through the other petals. And then if I really decided, you know, I'd like them to be a little more yellow than orange, I'll just let this dry and I could put a level of yellow over top, just like one other layer, or I could actually go back to that warm yellow we had. Because it has white in it, it will actually cover over this, but you do have to wait till it dries. All right, so that's one idea. The other way that I see people make petals, and it's a little more free-flowing, is if you take your big brush in that warm yellow color, and you really just start at the center and pull out. So you're just pulling strokes out. They might go in slightly different directions, but you'll just make a lot of little strokes side by side. And some of them can be curvy. And what you'll do here, so you see how it's just straight strokes coming out from the middle. You'll go over to some of your other colors, maybe that light yellow, and just put a little bit of a stroke in to give it variety. And if you wanted to go back with your little brush and do that, you totally could do that. So I just put a couple strokes in. Even if you wanted to put a tiny, tiny bit of brown in, you could do that. And really you're just very, very lightly pulling from the center out, and you can add some color that way. I just got a little of that dark brown, but it's totally fine. There's lots of different colors. So it just depends on how you want that flower to look. If you want them to be very defined looking petals, then you'll want to draw them with the little brush. And if you want just the image of petals or not so defined, you can use your big brush to just pull from the center out on those petals. All right, my center is not dry yet, but I'm going to try to lightly dab in. So I've got that yellow white. I'm just going to try to lightly dab some of that in. You can see how it's still blending because I have a lot of thickness in my paint right here, so it's going to be wet for a little while. But I'm going to put some thick spots. And here's what the white looks like. Now the white is going to be the lightest color, so when it's up against that brown, it's really going to stand out. So you don't want to put necessarily too much white in there because the centers are usually pretty dark. That said, I've seen sunflowers with a lot of different colors in their centers too, not only in their petals but in their centers. So you can put some either white or that yellow in the bottom too, and some of it'll blend in and give you just another set of colors, which is kind of cool. I think that's it. And once all of this dries, you can go back and put in just little strokes, little streaks of colors that you used in the painting. So whatever that blue color that you used for the top, there was a green that you mixed for the bottom, and you'll just put them here and there into the petals, like one stroke here and there, and that just pulls it all together as far as the colors go. If you want your sunflowers to be purely yellow, orange, brown, you don't have to do that step. It's just an idea to kind of pull everything together. All right, so that's our sunflower. I hope that was helpful and that you enjoy making your own.